On this week's show, we're discussing Forza racing past 1 million views, 1 million players on PlayStation, 2 projects are cancelled as EA lays off Respawn staff, and your PlayStation Plus for May 2025. All that and much, much more on this week's GamerGuild Podcast. Good game, everyone, and welcome back to the GamerGuild Podcast, your weekly show where we round up all the week's video game stories and news for your listening or viewing pleasure right here on youtube.com/GamerGuildTV and up there in the digital clouds on your podcast preference of choice. Joining me this week is Mr. Rob. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm very, very good. I'm kind of still waking up, to be honest.
You're the one who wanted to record at 9 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday.
I know, right? But this is going to make lots of kind of dads and parents furious, but this is early for me. So
yeah. Well, my girlfriend was up at quarter to 7 because she's at work today. So I asked her to just get me up when she gets up to make sure I'm out of bed before she leaves. So I've been up since probably about 7ish. So I've had time to get up, have some breakfast, drive to Starbucks.
Well, I knew the model of productivity as a mid-30s man.
Well, to be honest...
I'm complaining here again up at 9ish.
If I didn't get up with her, I would have got up at about 8:45. I'd be sat here good game, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. So I figured I may make the right move.
This is why you do the intro and I don't.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You can try it next time if you want.
Let's see what time it is first.
Yeah.
Okay.
So before we get into it, we do have a great show lined up for you, but quick bit of housekeeping. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell so you're kept in the loop of all of our fantastic content here at GamerGuildTV, such as the Clickercast, which is meant to be every Wednesday, but unfortunately we couldn't make it this week, so we are hoping to return to that next week. Well, this week, because this goes out on Monday. So... we are hoping to bring back the Clickercast. Unfortunately, we did have to skip an episode. My series of Pokemon Blue is coming out weekly nowadays on a Thursday. For members, I am planning to get some recording done of that this weekend, so hopefully you'll have a few more member-only episodes drop, which will eventually roll out for non-members. Other than that, Rob, what have you been playing?
I mean, I'll just stop to kind of hop back onto The Last of Us, and without saying any spoilers, holy shit, episode 2, man. What a...
Holy shit, yeah.
for multiple reasons, and not the reason that most people would jump to who've played the game. Just the production value on that episode. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Well, we have actually covered episode 2 on the Clickercast. It's episode 3 that we've skipped on the Clickercast.
Yeah.
So me and Chris did actually go into quite a bit of detail, but
yeah,
damn, it's an episode. That's a fucking episode of television.
That's everything that The Long Night could have been, right? In lots of ways.
You know what? I've actually just finished watching Game of Thrones. The Long Night is still shit.
It's really sours you, doesn't it? But
you don't know what's going on. It's it's when things are on fire and smoky, you actually get more visibility. And half the cast are just there getting swarmed by undead at all times, yet have plot armor. It's it doesn't tell a nice narrative story throughout the battle.
Yeah, it's just awful. And then it shows what can be done with the will and the HBO money.
Yeah, that was it when I rewatched The Long Night. First time you watch it, it's the visibility that annoys you. Second time you watch it, you realise there's no narrative arcs for any of the characters.
Yeah, it's
even
two
Arya
things, isn't it?
Just goes there.
Yeah, it's you can't see anything.
Yeah,
but then actually there isn't much to see when you get over that fact as well. But anyway, back to what I've been playing. So after the last episode that we recorded, I don't know why we were talking about Stronghold. Maybe it released it was the last kind of gaming history type of thing.
It might be. I can't remember. It was somewhere.
Yeah, something like that. But anyway, I went back and I actually downloaded Stronghold, both the Ultimate Edition of the first game, and then also the like the big bundle like they do, where like you get like Stronghold 2, you get Stronghold Legends, and like all the Crusaders and stuff like that. And I've been like really hammering the Stronghold games recently.
Oh, nice.
And I went back and because we'd have been like what 11, 12 when Stronghold 1 came out.
I don't think I've ever played them in any depth. I've definitely dabbled, but not in any real depth.
But I never knew how much of a kind of trial and error type of game those are. Like, when I'm going through like the levels now, it's not like a level, like the game's not designed to like succeed at the first time. You have to kind of like, it's kind of like just test and learn basically. Yeah. Which I never appreciated when I was a kid. Maybe because I was playing on like a too easy difficulty or something. But no, I'm really enjoying the Stronghold.
As a kid, you probably don't have the patience to actually realise the first time you're playing the level, it's probably more about learning the level.
Yeah, exactly that. So I've been really enjoying that, and that's been most of my time aside from my my standard fare. Baldur's Gate 2 is kind of not Baldur's Gate 2. Baldur's Gate 3 has kind of fell behind a little bit.
All right.
I don't know why. I think it's because I feel like I need a big chunk of time to play Baldur's Gate, and I haven't really had those chunks of time recently. Yeah,
it does feel like when I remember when it's one of the reasons why I don't think I have, because I've said before, I don't really want to play it on console. I want to play it on PC, but I also don't like to lock myself in here for hours and then. So it's like, when would I play it? It's why I bought Oblivion on PlayStation, even though I have access to it on Xbox.
Because
it's based on what we were talking, how like we both like to sit with our partners while we play in the living room nowadays, rather than locked up in our office being antisocial. Well, I play my Portal a lot. I can't do that on Xbox.
It's funny we say that, and then I immediately buy like a PC only game from like 15 years ago and lock myself away. But in my defence, my partner's been like doing lots of like other shifts aside from days. So like like, as I said, my partner, she's currently at work, so I'm probably going to spend quite a lot of time in here editing, recording Pokemon, making use of that time. So when we're both off together, we can spend time together. It's that balance. It's a balancing act, isn't it? Yeah, definitely. So, like, I'm guessing your gaming calendar's been taken up by Oblivion. Would that be a fair statement?
That would be a fair statement, yes. I have played Oblivion to death.
Got like an hour's estimate at this point?
Well, I've said before, I have a nasty habit of, because I'm playing on the Portal, what I do is I forget to shut down my PlayStation, and then I just turn off the Portal, forgetting that my PlayStation's running around, and I can't remember what my rest settings are for my PlayStation, but they are not, they're not very, like, aggressive, put it that way. So at one point, literally 2 days after having Oblivion, I showed my girlfriend my save at a time, and it was like 36 hours, and she's like, you've only had the game for 36 hours.
It's like, it's bad, but it's not that bad. It's
It's like, I played a bit the day I got it, but it was mainly the second day I had it. I probably played about 8 to 10 hours in day 2. So I reckon I was definitely in double figures, but I wasn't in like the 30s, because that literally would have been impossible. Last time I looked at that's the point where I kind of just abandoned using the save to track how long I've been playing. Because I think last time I looked at it, I was like 80 hours in, which I'm definitely not fair. That in. I'm probably 30.
All right,
20,
so
30,
it's like it's like an estimate 30 hours in. Like, what's your impressions at the moment? Is it worth buying twice, effectively?
Yes. If you like Oblivion, it's worth buying. It is. You know, we were discussing before, is it a remaster, is it a remake? It seemed from what they were talking, although they were calling it a remaster, we was leaning towards it's more of a remake. Mm-hmm. I flipped back the other way. I think it is more of a remaster.
Okay, good.
It plays and feels like Oblivion with a few modern tweaks, but maybe not as many as you'd actually like. They don't have a mass sale option in the shop, and that's so bloody annoying when I'm doing a thief run. Because I'm selling all the shit I pick up, and you have to go, sell them like boots. That red Jubilee is like, for fuck's sakes. You could have fixed this for the remaster.
Yeah, this would be very easy to fix.
You added sprint, and you couldn't fix this. It's But it's Oblivion. It is just Oblivion. Like,
yeah. I mean, I was talking about 3 weeks ago maybe, and then to actually drop there and then, you know, fair play, Bethesda, because
I mean,
I didn't see that coming.
I'm loving it, and if you've got Game Pass, I recommend you just check it out. Because if you've played Oblivion, you've liked Oblivion, or you're curious, play it. If you're playing Oblivion expecting it to be play and feel like a modern AAA game, you might be a bit disappointed. It looks like one. It's fucking gorgeous. Mm-hmm. But it is still Oblivion. Like most of the stuff.
That's quality of life things, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a few quality of life things, but it is essentially still just the game that we played like 25 years ago.
Yeah, but to expect it not to feel that way is unreasonable, right?
Yeah, but it holds up well enough. So I'm more than happy with my purchase, and I am intending to get the Platinum Trophy. Which isn't too bad. I looked at it. Basically, you need to do all the guilds in the main story, and that's your lot for the Platinum Trophy. So you don't need to bother. Yeah. It's not like maxing stats, no doing every bloody side quest in the world.
Yeah, but you'd have done that anyway on a longer timeline, I think.
Yeah, but I think that's going to be my focus on my current playthrough.
Nice.
I say current playthrough. I am planning a second playthrough. I'm doing the Thief's Guild at the moment. Then I'm going to move on to the Assassins. Then I'm going to re-roll a character and do Mages and Fighters Guild and story.
This is the exact same trajectory I always take. It's always like Thief, Assassin, and then like the Mage. I don't know, Mage characters I just don't like as much as other ones.
Yeah, and then once I've done the Fighters and Mage Guild, I'm going to do that, build like a combat mage, like sword and fire spells and shit like that. Then I'll decide which character I prefer playing to do story on.
Nice.
So
nice. Lots of hours.
Oh yeah, lots more to come.
Nice.
Cool. And I can't remember if I talked about it in last week's podcast, but I also did Platinum Split Fiction.
I can't remember.
So
how
you went on last week. That's why you.
No, I can't remember. I can't remember if you if I listened to it.
Yeah. Well, I know me and Chris were talking about it last week, but I don't think I platinumed it at that point. I think I platinumed it literally that afternoon after we recorded.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so I have the Platinum Split Fiction now as well, which is an awesome game. And if you have a chance to sit down and play with someone, it's an amazing game. You should probably try it with your girlfriend. It might work for her. Chris has been playing with his wife, so
okay, cool. Give it a check out.
Although he's not expecting to get the platinum.
Yeah,
because there is some bits that can be quite tricky towards the end. So
I'm like the least motivated by platinum trophies you could ever imagine. So I'm good on that front.
Fair enough. I don't focus on getting platinums. I only am for Oblivion because it feels like I will keep one of them games I will keep going back to, but I kind of want an endpoint for my current gaming session for it.
Yeah, fair.
Before I go off to play other stuff, because I am still looking at that Clay Obscure Expedition 33.
Nice, cool.
But anyway, Rob, would you like to introduce us to the
graciously gathered GamerGuild Gazette? Is that what you're talking about? I also call it the news.
The news, and as always, the news is brought to you by our amazing guild heroes, which you can join for as little as 99p over on the YouTube channel. Thank you very much for your support. At the moment, you will have access to episodes, I think, 4 and 5 of Pokemon Blue, and probably more before this podcast comes out. So, fill your boots. More to come. First news item, PlayStation Plus for May 2025. Rob, what is your pick of the bunch?
Well, so what we've got is Ark Survival Ascended, which I can't remember if that's the first one or the second. I can't remember because they brought out Ark 2 when Ark 1 wasn't finished. But I can't remember if they actually rebranded it just to give it a different name.
That's such a statement right there. They brought out 2 before number 1 was finished. Right, so Ascended is the remaster of Survival Evolved, which is the 2015 game, which is the first one.
Just the fact that we have to explain that is dumb.
Yeah.
With that said, I did love the original Ark when it came out. So Survival, Evolved, yeah. I played a lot of that game when it first came out, but then the company's actions, when they essentially release an alpha game and then start working on number 2, that's everything that like pisses me off about like the alpha early access ecosystem. Like, so that kind of soured it. But the game itself, or at least the original, with all its flaws, because it's early access, I really, really liked. So we have that. We have Balatro, which is a deck builder roguelike game.
Yeah, so Balatro was a Game of the Year contender last year. So it's one of them, it was a bit of a sleeper hit that got a lot of praise. And basically, I'll read the blurb from the PlayStation blog. In this poker-inspired roguelike deck builder, what a statement. It's all creating powerful synergies and winning big. Play illegal poker hands, discover game-changing jokers, and trigger outrageous combos in this roguelike strategy experience. Combine valid poker hands with unique joker cards in order to create varied synergies and builds, and enough chips to beat devious blinds, all while uncovering hidden bonus hands and decks as you progress. You're going to need every edge you can get in order to reach the boss blind, beat the final ante, and secure victory. So it's one of them that seemed to come out of nowhere. I think it's a one-man team made it, but there was a lot of controversy because he was hammered by legal things with him being gambling, where there's literally no gambling in the game. It's just poker inspired, where loot boxes and things like Fortnite are not classified as gambling when you're literally putting money down for a chance of getting something.
Right, okay.
So there was a lot of legal stuff, but it was genuinely highly praised last year in Game of the Year conversations. I think it won Indie Game of the Year at the Game Awards. Kind of very, very well revered.
Okay. Well, yeah, you've sold that on me, to be honest.
Yeah. I've never played it, and I don't fully understand it, because it's one of them I feel like you need to play to understand.
Yeah, the genre and format isn't like speaking to me, to be honest, but if it's that your type of thing, it's probably a good shout.
I might actually give it a go. Like, I haven't yet, but it feels like because it's so well revered, I might have to dip my toe into the waters there.
Yeah, just give it like half an hour to an hour or something. And then the final game we have is right up my alley anyway, and it's Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun. Now, I've never played this kind of I've never played Bolt Gun, but everything I hear about it gets really kind of solid reviews. So essentially, for people who kind of are a bit out of that ecosystem, it's like any Warhammer 40k game. You're playing a Space Marine, and it kind of takes you back to like the 90s kind of retro shooter vibe. Same grimdark universe that everybody from the franchise will be familiar with. And yeah, from all kind of consensus, it's a really solid, just simple like retro shooter. So
yeah, this is it's a 2023 game, but looks very, very visually inspired by the likes of the original Doom games.
Oh yeah, 1,000,000%. Like that's a perfect summary of it, I think.
Although the gun is off to the side rather than centered, so I will give it that.
Yeah, it's because the Space Marines and they don't have to like aim like normal.
They don't aim like this down the middle.
No, like they're barely human gods of men. The Emperor protects. If I had to pick one, and I would pick one based on, I think Ark Survival Ascended speaks to me and my genre preferences. But I would go with Bolt Gun just because I haven't played it, and it's a really good opportunity to jump into it. Yeah. And I'm getting back into like Warhammer at the moment. So
interestingly, I just glanced at the Metacritic for Bolt Gun while you were talking. It's a bit varied in platform. Oh, Xbox Series X, based on 7 critics, is getting an 84. Solid, very solid rating there. PC, 49 critics, drops down to 75. drops down again on PS5 to 73. And since we're talking about PlayStation, I'm surprised, although PlayStation Universe give it a 90.
It's very like...
Push Square give it a 60. And then none of the other outlets I actually recognise. I feel like it's more heavily reviewed on PC.
Interesting. Mate, I don't know. When I see variations like that, I tend to think there's like either controversy around it or like there's some anti-piracy. That type of stuff.
I don't know. It's because usually I find the critic reviews are fairly solid between platform, a little bit of variance, but it's weird to see one platform be like 10 points higher than the other two.
Yeah.
I mean, the number of views is skewed, so it might just be a case of there's a lot of reviewers on Xbox who are totally into Warhammer, totally into the style of game, so it's maybe artificially inflated.
Yeah, true.
Or the reverse could happen. I mean, GameSpot give it an 80. I believe they played on PC. So I'd say it's probably an 8 out of 10 game, which, to be honest, I think is fairly good for what looks like actually a really, really fun shooter that doesn't take itself too seriously. It's a PlayStation Plus game, so if you have PlayStation Plus, you've got it.
I'm going to chalk down all the bad reviews to heresy.
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah, looking at it on Steam, Tech Radar 8 out of 10, IGN France 8 out of 10. Not sure why it's specifically the France one they put on the poster, but they have. Maybe IGN US give it a lower score, but I think it's fun to be had. But weirdly enough, for me, if I had to pick one of these games for me to play, it probably would be Bolt Gun. Because while I do like survival games, I tend to play them for maybe a night or two, then never go back.
Yeah, what was that one we played? Was it Valheim?
Valheim, yeah.
I love that game. I had so much fun, and then never played it again.
I think I got past the first boss, opened up the second biome, and then it's right, I'm done.
Yeah, exactly that.
But the part of me is I don't want to get sucked into that kind of game. I don't want this game to take over the hobby entirely. I like to maybe play a game for maybe 50 to 150 hours, then move on to the next thing. Where something like Ark, you can spend 500-600 hours easy.
Oh yeah, very easily.
Yeah.
I probably dumped that amount of time into something like 7 Days to Die.
So I personally, given out of these three, I would play Bolt Gun, but I think Balatro is probably the best choice based on reputation.
Yeah, I mean, it's just reminded me I need to download RoboCop from last month over the next 2 days before it goes.
Yeah, you need to do that quickly.
Yeah, I got till the 5th, I think, haven't we?
Yeah. I never actually mentioned these are the essential games, but everyone knows that the first few games of the month are the essentials.
Yeah. So what would you rate this as a month then? Because I know we've had a bit of hit or miss from my perspective.
I think this is a hard month to rate because I think all three games are very, very subjective in terms of if you like them or not. Because Balatro, while it got universal acclaim from critics, might just be something that you're just not interested in. If you're not interested in card games or roguelikes or deck builders, Balatro's just not going to be for you.
Yeah, it's Oscar. It's like an Oscar nomination movie. Yeah, right? Very, very good, but also
it's objectively an amazing game, but subjectively you might be bored as hell playing it because I'm not sure I would be into it.
Yeah,
Bolt Gun I think very much lines on a bit of nostalgia for Warhammer 40k and for traditional first-person shooters like the likes of Doom and things like Wolfenstein of that era.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were very much a modern sensibility style of gamer, might not be up your alley. And Ark being a survival game, just very much a niche as well. So I think all three of these games fall into very clear, defined niches. So I'd say...
I think that's fair.
I think it's an absolutely fine month.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective, I think it's
fine to great, depending on your preference in gaming.
Yeah, this is the thing. I think it's punching probably heavier than average, but also I can see how people with unrealistic expectations for what this is, like what PlayStation Plus is, will be like, oh god, there's nothing like I can immediately recognise.
Yes. For me, I recognise all three of these games, but they're again the whole gaming podcast. Mm-hmm. I'm not in any rush to play any of them, but I do respect all three of them.
Yeah, I think
for what they do. And sometimes I think it's like me with Soulsborne games. They're not for me, but I do respect them. I get a bit frustrated when every game becomes a Soulsborne game.
Yeah, agreed.
I'd get frustrated if every game became chess.
Chess is quite popular in like kind of like the... Chess has gone... Not mainstream, is it? But it's like...
All the hipsters playing chess.
It's like it's hipsters and now influencers. Like, do you like when like there's a big boom when like influencers like discovered you can go to the gym?
Are they trying to appear like intellectuals now?
I think so. Yeah, it's just really cringe because it's
think when people do things purely for Instagram, I think it's cringe. Me and my girlfriend, oddly enough, we're going to Paris in a few weeks. We're talking about like how Instagrammers will literally, we saw it in Rome. They turn up in just like tracksuit bottoms and stuff to like a monument, get changed on site into the proper fucking ball gowns and stuff and the high heels, spend about an hour taking photos and get changed out of it, and they've not even looked at the bloody thing they went to see.
Yeah,
it's more about being. Yeah, I do find it pathetic. It's like it's more about being seen to go to these places rather than going to these places.
Yeah, it's not my.
But yeah, nothing wrong with looking good, nothing wrong with taking photos at places, but it's when you're going purely to a place for a photo shoot. I just don't get it. Anyway, Borderlands 4, we got a state of play. Neither of us have watched it.
That says something in itself, I think.
Yeah, so let's talk about just our expectations for Borderlands 4 before we get into the nitty-gritty of some of the information from the state of play. Where are you currently sitting with Borderlands as a franchise right now?
I mean, I used to love like the original Borderlands, and I loved it because it was new. It was like in a format which I guess we were coming out of that like kind of grey shooter palette.
It was vibrant. It took liberties with the art style, which is a great decision in hindsight because it still holds up to this day. It added RPG mechanics to a shooter, which wasn't popular then.
Yeah, so like back like when the franchise was emerging, like I was super into it.
Same.
But I don't know, like with Borderlands 4, it's just like, oh cool, we're getting more Borderlands. Like,
yeah, that was my reaction to Borderlands 3 as well. Where when I was playing Borderlands 3, as much as I enjoyed the game, I don't currently own it because I had it on the Stadia. I've just felt like it's not as good as Borderlands 2. The narrative wasn't as engaging. The characters just went... It very much felt like they've took that kind of blueprint from 2 and made it again. It didn't feel like it elevated. I was looking for an elevation of what 2 and the pre-sequel did. Because the pre-sequel, where I think that stood out, is like the low gravity stuff. I remember bouncing around the moon thinking this is fucking amazing. And obviously it's the foundations of Handsome Jack.
Yeah, exactly that. So like, I don't know, like with number 4, I'm just like, it's not doing enough new stuff for me, or at least like that's the perception of it. And like, like the movie flopped, and that didn't go well to kind of bring new players into like the franchise. So I'm just kind of like, it's fine, it can exist. Like, I'm sure like the diehards of the franchise will like having like a fresh shot in the arm, but I think I'm ready for like other stuff now, to be honest.
I feel like what I want from Borderlands is a true evolution of the format. Not cast aside everything that Borderlands is, but don't just make another game in the series. Which I think brings us on to what was announced. So I'm going to read from Games Radar, because they have a nice breakdown. So, first bullet point, Gearbox said Borderlands 4 isn't an open world game, but it sure looks open world to me. This is, again, reading from Games Radar. Tons of aerial movement, no need to pick up a mission from many surprises, and your own vehicle on command. Is it or is it not an open world?
I mean, if if it walks like an open world, it talks like an open world. Feels pretty open world to me.
So Randy Pitchford said he wouldn't use the term open world since it comes with a lot of baggage that doesn't apply. It's without.
I mean, could he be splitting hairs? Do you like in the way like Uncharted had those like open world, but not really open world kind of elements to it?
What I think it might be is I think Borderlands 4 isn't just set on Pandora. If it's set on a few different planets, each biome you go to might be open world, but the game isn't a true open world game because you go through loads of screens and stuff.
Yeah,
or he might be just trying to distance it from the likes of a Ubisoft open world where you get this massive open world filled with random collectibles that are there.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment.
So I'm not quite sure what he means, but this is sometimes where I feel like we need a council of video game developers who make properly defined terminology, like.
God, imagine the concentration of
just to agree on stuff. What is a roguelike versus a roguelite? Have these kind of clear definitions.
So basically what you want to do is you want to take the worst commenters from any comment section on a gaming publication. You want to lock them in a room together to argue about semantics.
No, I'm not using twats like us. I'm saying we use game developers, game publishers, and actual journalists to agree on this terminology.
You can't put them in a room. You can't put them in a room together. They'll just spend the entire time not making eye contact with each other.
Yes, you can. It's called GDC, Game Develop Conference. Every year, do it there. Once a year, anyone who's there can apply to be in this meeting where they go through terminology and where they feel like definitions need to be made. They make them.
So they all have to wear cloaks and stuff.
It happens in the industry I work in. People have to define this shit so we all agree. Stuff. Anyway, moving on to the next bullet point. Borderlands 4 made huge changes to guns. We basically have 5 weapon slots now, which I think before did you have 4? And they're 3 new manufacturers plus modded guns with licensed parts combos. So I feel like that's where we're starting to see a bit of an evolution come into play. More manufacturers, I think, is a good thing. Gives more variety because all the manufacturers. That's one thing I can always say about Borderlands. Every manufacturer in the game for weapons has its own kind of identity of how the guns behave.
Yeah, I agree.
Or misbehave. So more manufacturers is good. Licensed parts feels like you can get aftermarket parts, so you can now start modding weapons a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, licensed parts to me shouts collabs and stuff, doesn't it?
Yeah, I should say licensed parts is in quotations. So they may not be officially licensed.
Yeah, inspired. Let's use that workaround.
But if you're able to modify your weapons in Borderlands using parts from different manufacturers to add to, there could be some absolute craziness happen here.
Yeah, it'll always be fun to play that mechanic in the first 6 weeks of the game coming out because there'll just be some hideously broken combinations that people uncover, which are just the power creep on them is so insane.
Yeah.
So that'll be fun to see the fury that unleashes. Yeah.
They've overhauled the drop rates and loot across the game because they've admitted that in Borderlands 3 legendaries drop too often, which is actually a bugbear of me in a lot of games. A lot of games where you have things like common, uncommon, epic loot. It feels like you get to a point where things like epic loot and legendary loot is so common it makes everything else not viable, and you get unique items that are just dropping left, right, and centres. It doesn't feel special to get them.
Yeah, I think that feeling for me peaked around it'll be in Odyssey, I think. Assassin's Creed. I think that was the worst example of that I can think.
I think it's present in most games now, where it feels like you're starting off with white items, then you go to green, then you go to blue, then you go to purple, then you go to gold. And it largely feels like based on level rather than what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I've always missed the days of old where things like, I know Oblivion was probably one of the ones that did it first, where you started leveling loot with your player level. Where I remember in Morrowind, some dungeons you walk into and you would get your ass kicked because there'd be a Dremora in there with full Daedric armor and you're level 3.
Yeah, and the only thing you could do was try to run to the chest and then run out without dying. But if you did, you got a hilariously overpowered item for your level.
And I think that's one of the things that made games like that special, where it feels like you feel like you found something that you'd remember to come back to later.
Yeah, I know I'm not supposed to be here yet.
Yeah,
I've made a mistake somewhere. It's like when you go to the Deathclaw kind of area of Fallout New Vegas, and you're like, oh no, this is the terrible decision.
Fallout 4 actually does it quite well because you do fight Deathclaw very early in the game, but you're given a full suit, power armor suit and a minigun, which is a nice way of showing how fucking hard these things are to kill.
Oh yeah.
The game gives you everything you need, and you struggle.
You don't struggle if you go hide in the shop and just shoot it because it can't get into the shop. Yeah, no, it's if you walk, there's a blown out shop you can walk into, and then it just can't get into the door, so you just blast them in the face for 5 minutes straight.
Yes, if you cheese the game, you don't struggle. But they introduced the characters of Vexosire and Rafa the Exo Soldier, the first of the two new Vault Hunters. Not much really know about them yet, but I feel like you probably get to know them by playing more than anything.
Yeah, agreed.
Borderlands 4 heavily relies on the series' lore bomb sirens again. So, again, they keep focusing pretty much every narrative around the sirens. Well, apparently, Vault Hunter Vex has a big purple cat.
Good for her.
Yeah, there's recurring characters like Moxie, Zane, Claptrap, and Mara, and more. Each Vault Hunter, as usual, has their own playstyle. Enhancements gear slots allows weapon augments dependent on manufacturer. New ordnance gear slots. Rep kit lets players heal and get temporary buffs. It all feels very standard issue at the moment.
Next game in the series, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what I will say is, despite me not being as into the franchise, I think number 3 probably had the best evolved mechanics of the series, right? So it's got to a point where the actual shooting mechanics have been continuously refined.
Yeah.
So if they keep on that trajectory, then
that's what I meant earlier by objectively number 3 is probably the strongest in the series. However, it didn't quite land the same as 2 or the pre-sequel. I think part of that is narrative, part of it is the uniqueness of them games. Where obviously when Borderlands 1 came out, Borderlands 2 almost refined very much made what that Borderlands is, and I don't think they've managed to get out of the shadow of 2 yet.
Yeah. That pretty accurately sums it up.
Yeah.
But if you're a Borderlands fan and you have and you like the mechanics, I think this is more of the same for you.
I feel this is for me wait for PlayStation Plus or Xbox Game Pass before I dabble.
Yeah,
that's where I'm currently
with my
sitting.
buying habits, I'm not buying this.
Yeah,
which is sad, but
I mean they have actually moved the release date as the last point, and apparently it's nothing to do with Grand Theft Auto 6.
I mean, the fact that they have to say that.
Yeah, but I think that's everyone now. If anything's around the Grand Theft Auto 6, they're just moving out the way. I think I'm looking for the release date, but I think it's actually being moved up, so it's coming out earlier. Which I thought the release date was in this Push Square article that I'm reading.
12th of September, I've got.
Oh, it was originally due September the 26th. It's now due the 12th of September.
Yeah.
So it's not a massive change. It's 2 weeks early.
I mean, is that this year?
Yeah.
Well, doesn't GTA been pushed back?
I don't think GTA actually has a release date.
I'm sure. Yeah, GTA6 got delayed until May 2026.
Ah, all right.
But that literally happened like...
It seems a weird thing to spell out then, because if GTA has been delayed till 2026, Borderlands has been moved up 2 weeks, and they're going, oh, it's not because of Grand Theft Auto. It's like, we wouldn't expect it. If Grand Theft Auto was coming out, I don't know, end of September, then I might be going, oh, you want to give Borderlands a few extra weeks?
Yeah.
Right, it's the same publisher as well, so they're both 2K.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably worth actually touching on, because this, the GTA story broke, like, overnight, I think. So it's probably worth mentioning that just briefly. So I think Rockstar released a statement. It was just kind of like the typical kind of white text on like a black background. But we've got Grand Theft Auto 6 is now coming May 26th, 2026. So lots of 26s in there. I might as well just read the full statement. This is like...
go for it.
Yeah. So Grand Theft Auto 6 is now set to release on May 26th, 2026. We are very sorry that this is later than you expected. The interest and excitement surrounding the new Grand Theft Auto has been truly humbling for our entire team. Blah, 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 thanks, patience, etc. With every game we release, the goal has always been to try and exceed your expectations, and Grand Theft Auto 6 is no exception. We hope you understand, we need time, blah, blah, blah. Sincerely, Rockstar Games. So, yeah.
That was a big news I just didn't even pick up on.
It's because
I didn't check.
Yeah, it released like last night.
I've just looked up that I've found an IGN article which was literally released like 20 hours ago. So I didn't check the news last night. I checked it before I left work yesterday.
Yeah, I just saw it. I was like, wait, I'm sure I saw something pop on my Instagram when I was like dead scrolling this morning before hopping on here.
So usually if I finish work about 4 or 5 o'clock on a Friday, usually that's the news done for the week.
Yeah.
Especially because in America it's already in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Alright, let's just go off tangent a bit. Like, first impressions on that?
I think it's probably smart. I think Grand Theft Auto 6 is a lot of pressure. I think there's more pressure on Grand Theft Auto 6 probably than any other game in history because of the success of Grand Theft Auto 5.
Yeah, so, it's a pretty impossible...
And because of the success and continued success of Grand Theft Auto 5, I don't think Rockstar in any rush or any pressure to release 6. Yeah. I think they delay this game till it's perfect for me.
Yeah. I mean, has number 5 actually dropped out of the top 10 sales yet? Because
I'd have to look up, but the fact that I even have to look up suggests even if it's out the top 10, they've made a shit ton of money. They've paid for that game hundreds and hundreds of times over. They've probably made enough money to fund Grand Theft Auto 6 in the last 2 or 3 years of Grand Theft Auto 5's existence.
Yeah.
So just delay as long as you need to. Get it absolutely. You're in a rare opportunity where a lot of game developers don't have, where you can delay this game. You could bring this game out in 2028 and be fine. I genuinely believe that with the way Grand Theft Auto 5 is, as long as you keep supporting 5. So just wait till it's perfect. Try and get it out without any major bugs. Make sure everything is pristine, because this needs to be the replacement for 5 for Rockstar. So it needs to be better in every single way, and also capture the magic.
Exactly that, because and also, just the scale of this project as well. What could delay I think we're all accustomed now to delays coming every kind of more often than not, a big tile gets delayed, right? That's just the nature of it. But I think what could be a couple of months delay for a normal game, something of this scale, if they need it delayed, it probably needs to be delayed to a factor of 4, whatever. So summer next year. Well, call it summer.
Yeah.
I'll be surprised if it came out on the schedule to be honest. So yeah, this isn't particularly like a big deal for me.
Yeah,
still sucks because it's like a year away, but
I think Rockstar have so much probably power over what they do as well because of the success of 5. They're not like, no publisher is going to be overly pressing Rockstar.
yeah,
I feel like because they just have so much credit in the bank from 5.
yeah, and let's be honest, like, you know, a game getting delayed for like basically what the best part of a year, that could kill certain publishers and certain developers because of the like the money they need to get it in. But that's just not the case with Rockstar and 2K. Is it? Like, it's just not.
No,
like they don't need the money.
I think it goes into the big problem of game development is it's so expensive, and now the bigger, more complex games have got, that release schedule, the development cycles went from maybe 2 or 3 years up to maybe 5 or 6, if not longer, and that's it. We're talking average there.
And I think
so that means you're getting basically half the amount of games out, which pretty much doubles the risk on every single game if it flops.
Yeah, and I think it stays pretty true to the Red Dead Redemption 2 timeline, which I think the first teaser of that dropped like 2 years before the game actually came out, because again, like, there was a pretty sizable delay there.
Yeah.
But like, looking at the quality of that game, if that's any indicator on what 6 could be and like the standard that 6 could achieve, then delay away. Just shout me when it's ready.
Yeah, and the thing is, Grand Theft Auto 6 will be playable probably. We'll probably get a remaster or something on PlayStation 6 as well. Like, I feel like it's going to do the Mario Kart 8 thing where it carries across multiple generations, like 5 did. So
yeah, I was going to say, remember, like 5 came out on 360, which when I look back now is a ridiculous timeline, really. When like you think about how old, it tells you how old that game is.
Yeah,
it came out right at like the back end of the 360 life cycle.
That's an interesting thing to get into, because with Grand Theft Auto 5, it was originally a single player game. Mm-hmm. Then they brought out Grand Theft Auto Online. Do you think 6 is going to be basically Grand Theft Auto Online 2?
It's difficult because it's the way like the actual game, like the product's developed over like its life cycle. Because like, I don't know if you've like bought it recently or in like the past 5 years, but now you like, especially like on the like online stores, they kind of split those two things out, don't they? So they have like Grand Theft Auto Online, which you can like buy, but then Grand Theft Auto 5 is almost like stories, almost like separate.
Yeah, and it's like almost like Grand Theft Auto Online grew to a point where 5 feels like DLC for that, rather than the other way around.
Yeah, exactly that. And like, obviously, we never got additional content for GTA 5 single player because
they cancelled it.
Yeah, because of how big like online got. So, in my head, I hope they maintain like the same thing they did, where like they released the actual game and then online comes like a month or two later. I think was it a month or two later? I think something like that. I hope they do that, but the realist in me says there's far too much money in like on like GTA Online 2 for them not to kind of release it side by side.
So where I'm at is because Grand Theft Auto Online was an accident. They had an idea. Yeah. Well, it wasn't fully an accident. They had an idea. They developed it. They put it out there, and it did well, incredibly well. How well it did was not expected.
Absolutely.
I think what they've probably done is may have learned the lessons. Maybe I think Grand Theft Auto 6 could just be a platform where the story will release probably with a single player story content, but I think you will probably load into maybe an online world. We know that actually there is story content that is already confirmed because there's actually a dual protagonist in this one.
Yeah.
I feel like you may start by creating your own character, drop into the world, then choosing to play that story. But then the world's also this sandbox playground that Grand Theft Auto is known for. And if they do more story DLC, they'll add it in. So it's this. They might even make the main campaign co-op with there being two protagonists. I think there's a lot of stuff they can do. But I feel like while they bring out story out the front, I think the legs of the game are going to be in the kind of Grand Theft Auto Online 2, and I think that's going to be in place from day one.
Yeah, I think so. The thing is with online too, though, it depends on what the theme of GTA 6 is. Because if you remember when GTA 5 came out, we were on the back end of the the financial crisis, and the game was kind of being an entrepreneur and doing all that type of stuff. That was very much coming into fashion, and all that game was basically about was the kind of accumulation of wealth and greed to times up to 100, and that made that translated really well into an online kind of rags to riches kind of theme. But I don't know what the theme of number 6 is going to be. I think it's going to be more kind of socially driven.
I think it's going to be driven the big social political stuff of the last maybe 5-10 years.
Yeah. So I'm not sure how well that would translate to.
I think it's going to probably be things like the resurge of racism, especially in America under things like Trump. Yeah. And then again under Trump.
But how well that translates to a accumulate resource grow type of multiplayer, that remains to be seen. Because remember, Rockstar don't have a perfect record when it comes to online games. They blew it out the park with obviously GTA, but Red Dead Online was a complete miss. And that was, I think that came down, a lot of it came down to the themes and stuff of those two, the difference between those two games.
Yeah, I feel I've always felt Grand Theft Auto is more of a sandbox than Red Dead. Red Dead is more of a cowboy simulator. Everyone you talk to about Red Dead, it's about the story, it's about the characters, it's about the world, playing through the story of that world. Mm-hmm. You talk to people about Grand Theft Auto, and they're talking about more the sandboxy elements.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Maybe that's because we're so far removed from the narrative of 5, but the success of 5 is largely in the online. Obviously, it was a huge hit right off the gate before, but I don't know. I just feel the more modern sensibilities of Grand Theft Auto rather than Red Dead lends itself more to that. I mean, how many times have you seen a YouTube short of some Neil deGrasse Tyson talking about something, and someone's just put a Grand Theft Auto clip of someone doing backflips in a fucking Lamborghini in there?
Yeah.
I hate that shit. I fucking hate it.
Increase
if you're going to make a video and you're going to talk over the video, have the visuals match the topic. Don't stop random shit in front of it. I fucking hate it. Anyway, we need to move on because we're almost now in the show and we've got a lot of stories still to talk about. So, moving on to Forza Horizon 5, within a few days of launching on PlayStation, has had 1 million players. Bit of a hit, Rob?
I mean, I think it's fair to say Forza is the leading the pack when it comes to racing sims, right? I think that's not a contentious statement, is it? So, release on PlayStation, I'm not surprised at the success it's getting. I'd argue it's probably I'd say at least top 2 races of this generation. Yeah, good for them. Keep going.
Yeah, so I'm reading from a Push Square article. Reset Era took a screenshot of the leaderboard on April the 25th. The number counted around 45.1 million players. That's a fuck ton of players already.
Oh, God, yeah.
By the end of its first full day on PlayStation, the number jumped up to 45.8 million, so that's 700,000 players day one. For a game that came out quite a while ago. When did Forza Horizon 5 actually release on Xbox? So, because I think it just shows you, 2021. And that was day one.
This is a thing we probably don't appreciate much because obviously we're not into racing games. But there is obviously it's not as big as kind of FIFA and that kind of ecosystem. But there is very much a massive racing community out there.
Oh yeah,
which
100%.
We probably don't talk about in proportion to how big it is, just because it's
it's not games that we regularly play, so I just don't feel I'm knowledgeable enough or experienced enough to play, because I'm shit at racing games. We've got a handful of videos on the channel that prove this.
Yeah, but like for within that community, like Forza is, as I say, like top 1 or 2.
It is regarded like the first comment from this Push Square article I'm reading from is actually Dennis Reynolds from
Cool.
Always Sunny. Not shocking considering it's the best racer of this generation.
Yeah, so like obviously you've got like GT7 in there in the mix, but like I'm not surprised again in the success it has. More power to it as well.
Oh, yeah, and I feel like Xbox have tapped into such a brilliant idea of they are actually the biggest publisher on PlayStation. Microsoft is literally the biggest publisher on PlayStation right now.
Yeah, I mean, like their decision to go all in on this kind of licensing games out, it's working out for them, right?
It is definitely financially, and I don't know. I keep thinking could this be Xbox doing the Sega thing, moving away from making consoles towards publishing games.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, like they're not.
Not in the long run. I think the next generation of Xbox they're already confirmed they're working on. Not in the short run, but in the long run, do they keep making boxes, especially with the rise of cloud gaming, or do eventually their platform is in the cloud and PC, and then they just publish games everywhere?
I mean, like they were the first ones to start adopting and kind of embracing that possibility, weren't they? So I wouldn't be surprised if the next Xbox is the last one. I think I'd probably say it's more likely than not, to be honest.
Yeah, that's where I'm at. I think I've said since we started the Sounds of Stadia, I feel like Xbox will eventually get rid of the Xbox because they were one of the biggest proponents of cloud gaming. Still are to a degree. I think cloud gaming in general has slowed a bit, but most major console holders, platform holders, are still working on it to some degree. So I feel eventually gaming, not as soon as I thought it would happen previously, but I think by the time we're looking at PS7, PS8, I think Xbox is cloud only.
Yeah,
or PC. Anyway, moving on. Lost Soul Aside has been delayed.
When has it been delayed to?
The game was originally due out on the 30th of May. It's been pushed till the 29th of August this year. So it's only a fairly short delay.
It's short, but if my memory serves, that's the week that Metal Gear Delta comes out, which could kill it. I know it's different, like kind of themes and like genres and stuff, but
yeah, one's very much a landmark of game, a pinnacle of gaming, like a pillar of gaming. Everyone knows Metal Gear Solid. Lost Souls Aside, it looks like a Final Fantasy spin-off. It's not, but it very does look Final Fantasy. So if you're not into, I think it is more of a risk than Metal Gear Delta.
Yeah,
which
I mean
that sucks for me because I want to play both.
Like nothing is getting in the way of Metal Gear. Like
I wish Oblivion should not have come out. Because if Oblivion didn't come out, I'd be playing Claire Obscura now. And then I probably would, if Lost Soul Aside didn't get delayed, then that would be next, and then probably Metal Gear Delta.
Yeah, well, I mean, I hope it does well, but that's it's not this. Yeah, it's like a kind of like a middle tier, not in a bad way, but a middle tier game getting shuffled is a lot more of a bigger deal than something tied to this like GTA6 getting shuffled, right? Because like one moves the market and one gets moved by the market. I don't think it's PlayStation Studios. I'm trying to find a little bit of info on who's publishing and developing it. It is. It is actually published by Sony Interactive Entertainment. It's a PlayStation Studios game. So this is a PlayStation first party. It's Ulti Zero Games, which I think are a third party
a third-party developer, but it's being published by PlayStation directly. So that means that Sony have at least got their faith in this game.
Yeah, fair. I mean, I hope it does well.
Yeah.
Because from what I can see, everyone's kind of really anticipating it, but it'll be one that I honestly missed just because of the release date now.
Yeah, I feel like that might be a case. I think it might be a game that is at risk of getting lost in the mix. But I've thought about that about Claire Obscura, and then that is just absolutely dominated like ratings and critic reviews and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's keep moving on at a bit of pace, because EA have announced layoffs. I hate these stories, Rob. I hate the stories when we talk about layoffs.
Honestly, I think we're going to get a lot more coming. I guess I'm not strictly in the tech industry, but I'm very, very adjacent to it. My job involves kind of using those platforms, albeit not being directly employed by them, and they're everywhere at the moment.
Yeah. So, reading from GamesIndustry.biz, EA cuts another 200 jobs in service of driving future growth, bringing total job losses to around 300. We are treating our people with care and respect throughout this process, EA say. Surely, and a lot of these jobs are actually affecting Respawn as well, who've made the Jedi games and Titanfall and stuff before that.
Yeah.
Surely, as an industry, gaming really needs to sort shit out, because there seems to be way too much scale up, cut in terms of job losses. And I know EA is saying they're treating people with respect through the process, and I'm inclined to believe them that they're trying to help these people find meaningful future employment when they leave. But come on, 200 people. That's people's lives. You can't be fucking around with this shit.
Yeah, as someone who's had to do this, being on both receiving and giving end of these types of things, yes, you can treat people with respect and do your utmost to kind of help them shuffle on, but as you say, you are still also removing their ability to pay their rent, their food, their kids' kind of shoes and shit like that. So uprooting their families to find new jobs. Gaming's a global industry. These people might have to either leave the gaming industry entirely, which means you might be losing awesome talent, or move to a different state, if you're in America, or country potentially. I think that's the one of the things that you said is really kind of the crux of it, where because these jobs are so insecure at the moment, and your livelihood relies on a game exceeding expectations, which are probably unrealistic in the first place, and also you've got a looming threat of, can I be outsourced by either somewhere in the Philippines, or can I just be completely replaced by an AI program? There's nothing that someone would have to be extremely passionate to the point of affecting their quality of life to stick in that industry, when there's more stable, viable, and I guess predictable sectors out there. Anybody who's a really talented kind of developer, or really talented, can just as easily find a job in fintech or something, and not struggle to survive. So
depending what your discipline is, because game development is a multi-discipline thing. So if you're working on the coding side, you can pretty much get any IT in the world if you've worked on a big game, probably, because you've got that experience.
Yeah.
Art, if you're an incredibly talented artist, take your pick of where you want to go. Same with music. If you're a talent at such high level where gaming is, especially from a company like Respawn, we're not talking about. We're talking about people probably at the pinnacle of the craft.
Agreed.
I don't know. I feel like these stories happen way too frequently, and the numbers of people losing their jobs. It's not we've had to do a restructuring. Unfortunately, we've lost 10 people.
No, this is big department scale.
This is they've looked at the numbers and went 200 people need to lose their jobs, And I do not believe for a second, when you get these sort of numbers, that anyone is taking a meaningful, considered approach to who these people losing jobs are and how these restructures happen. I think it feels from... I mean, I am talking from the outside. It feels hack and slash.
Yeah, but that's like kind of standard for the industry at the moment. So,
which is a problem.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the biggest problems in the gaming industry because it makes it less appealing for people to go into.
Yeah. So it sucks, like, obviously, like, hopefully these people can find alternative places to work and stuff, but it will affect project quality as well. Like, that's inevitable. Yeah,
well, talking about projects, Respawn, on the back of this, have had two projects cancelled.
Yeah.
It's not clear what they are. They did say that they were in early stage incubation projects and they've made cuts across the Apex Legends and Star Wars Jedi teams, but they have doubled down on their focus on Apex Legends and the Star Wars Jedi franchise.
Yeah. Which is good, but also means that like you're kind of strangling new IP coming out.
I was about to comment on that. It's like, it's doubling down on what's successful, but Star Wars Jedi and Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order, kind of came out of nowhere when Star Wars games was at a pretty low point, and EA was at a low point, and kind of redeemed EA's reputation. But now they're doubling down on what works. That's the problem Ubisoft, I think, have made too many times.
Yeah, agreed.
Not taking enough risks. I think we need to see bigger publishers taking risks in their IP. So. Claire Obscura, that's I think it's a 30 person team. And it's currently odds on Game of the Year. So I don't know.
What lies the future of EA?
Yeah, I don't know. I do hate these stories. But anyway, moving on. Quick story: Far Cry 4 is still being supported, which is nice to see, with a 30 frames per second patch on PlayStation 5.
It still gives me an excuse to actually play this one because I never actually played them before. What are you up to now? Like 7?
6, I think.
Is it 6? Maybe. Yeah.
That's basically all the story is, to be honest. I just wanted to put it in there because I find it hilarious because my girlfriend's literally got the platinum on Far Cry 4 a day and a half before I saw this story.
Nice.
So she's not asked about it though. She's not snobby when it comes to frame rates. So, and to be honest, her issues with Far Cry 4 were more than frame rate issues. It's Ubisoft stuff being Ubisoft, the absolute relentlessness of the enemies when she's just trying to mooch around, find a collectible, and enemies seemingly come from nowhere, from halfway across the map, suddenly see it and charge at you, and it's just
because they have to keep engagement in the game. Because that's probably a metric that they follow, and let's just make this metric higher. Yeah.
Anyway, that's all that story is, to be honest. But I do like seeing, credit to Ubisoft, I do like seeing older games still get supported.
Yeah.
Especially because Far Cry 4 very playable nowadays still, despite it's got some old game is old stuff, but old game is old. Let's move on to Doom: The Dark Ages, which is coming up on Xbox. What's your kind of excitement for Doom: The Dark Ages?
So I really like the concept. I'm really heavily into the Doom franchise. For me, this looks just as day one by as I can be at this point. I think there's some controversy around the Xbox PlayStation kind of war, because it seems like they're supporting the PlayStation version a bit more. Giving it some additional kind of support and stuff like that. But no, I'm very much looking forward to this. The art style looks brilliant. The box cover looks exceptional.
I mean, you've touched on what the story is here, but apparently there's a PlayStation specific trailer, and the Push Square article reads the title: a PlayStation exclusive Doom: The Dark Ages trailer isn't sitting well with Xbox fans. who the fuck cares if the trailer's PlayStation or Xbox?
Like, honestly, in 2025, people are still talking about, like, Xbox being
what?
PlayStation. Like, come on.
If you really, really care about this, here's the truth of what's happened here. Xbox have put a trailer on with a Sony logo at the front of it, but that is still applicable to the game you're going to buy on Xbox. It's the same game.
And also, like, PlayStation probably played a fair bit of money to do that as well. So it's like, if you really get into, like, the who's winning who, it's like, it's just so fucking 2015. Like,
yeah, I don't know. It's just one of them stories. It's like,
yeah, but no, the actual game itself, like, looks brilliant. Like,
and to be honest, it's probably a marketing genius because they know it'll rile up Xbox fans and gets people talking about it.
Yeah, exactly that.
So,
but no, it's definitely going to be on my playlist. What about you?
Definitely on the list. Don't know when I'll get to it.
Fair.
There's just so much awesome games coming out. Like, I can't play them all, and I tend to make a decision spontaneously. Like, Oblivion was a spontaneous decision. I was pretty much wrapping up Pokemon, and then Oblivion Shadow Drop went bye.
Yeah, this is the curse of gaming in your 30s.
It landed at the right time for me, Oblivion.
Yeah.
A week later, and I probably would have been playing Clair Obscur.
Yeah, but it's a sheer luck as opposed to planning, isn't it?
Yeah, because like a few days after I bought Oblivion, me and Chris were talking about the reviews of Clair Obscur. I had a tear in my head. But now I'm playing Oblivion. I'm waiting. Clair Obscur is probably next month.
Yeah.
But anyway, Wuchan Fallen Feathers has got the release date, and it's coming out on Xbox Game Pass. Release date is the 24th of July.
24th of July. I will not play this game, but for anybody who wants to, 24th of July.
Yeah, that's it. I think I'm not. It's nice that it is coming to Game Pass, because I think it might get a bit of an audience, but I think it's probably just getting. It feels like it's just another game that's coming out this year.
Yeah, like,
it's a bit of a shame because it probably deserves a bit of love, but.
It looks good, but it's just like it's another Souls game, right?
I'm not quite sure. This is my problem. I sometimes, with some of these Chinese games, I feel like I sometimes forget which one's which.
Yeah, exactly that. So it just becomes part of like the...
It's inspired by Ming Dynasty folklore and ancient Chinese mythology. Wuchang Fallen Feathers invites players to play as Wuchang, a mysterious warrior afflicted by a horrific feather disease, to uncover hidden secrets and battle supernatural enemies in an ancient empire teetering on the edge of collapse. So,
if you're into it.
I think it could be an interesting game. It's one of the games where if it's not Souls-like, I probably would enjoy playing it.
Yeah,
but it's not high up on my list. Talking about things high up on the list, Xbox have announced a price increase. So
I think we all saw this coming, didn't we, with the way
other
platforms have went.
So what I want to pick up on here is, so in the UK, the Series X is being increased by £50 and Series S by £20. Mm-hmm. In the US, the Series S is up by $80 and $100 for the Series X. I feel this is a very US-centered price increase that's hitting the rest of us. Looking at the numbers.
I mean, it almost, it sounds like there's been like some action taken by somebody who was...
it almost feels like some of these components that go on Xboxes might be manufactured in countries outside the US and maybe setting precedents with their ridiculous tariffs and very much isolationist policies. Maybe infecting the price of consumer goods.
No, remember, Richie, if you ask people in America who pays the tariffs, it's the other countries, Richie. It's like,
It's not how it works.
It's almost this way. Okay, this is just again, we're making an assumption here, but I think it's a pretty safe assumption.
Yeah, it is an assumption that this is based on political landscape.
But also, this is like fuck around, find out, manifest. Like, sorry.
And the reality is annoying as this is to consumers. Microsoft are a business, do need to protect their assets, which sometimes can be frustrating. because sometimes I do feel the smarter move is for businesses to actually accept a reduction in profits as long as it's still profitable if when they're going through rocky waters. Because my issue is if all these tariffs get reversed, everything goes back to where it was a year ago, these numbers don't come down for consumers.
No, they'll never come down, no.
Yeah.
This is just the cost.
Yeah. So, which means then in that situation, Microsoft make more profit than they were a year ago. So,
but then at the same time, if you're in a
this
business...
This is just how capitalism works, to be honest. It is just that situation. Like, businesses, when you give them an excuse to take an inch, they'll take the inch, and when the excuse disappears, they keep the inch.
Yeah, but also, if they put this price increase through, it also affects the next generation pricing as well. Because then the benchmark becomes, okay, well, we're charging this for a Series X now. So, like, whatever we were going to charge for, like, the Series, whatever the hell they're going to call it, like, it becomes, like the original intention plus this increase as well, because you can't have too close, the price can't be close to, like, your previous generation, because, like, that's just, you can't do it. So
I just found it interesting that the price increases are not uniform, that they're very much higher in the US. Like,
yeah,
£50 versus $100 for the Series X, £20 versus $80 versus the Series S. It feels like Microsoft have pushed it as high as they can in the US, then realised they had to up it in other markets to break even, probably.
Yeah. So it's... You know what? I can kind of, like... I can see why it's happening. I don't like that it's happening. But, this is...
Yeah, it's
like unstable trading, unstable pricing for everything. Like, they've got to do what they have to do. And I guess the only kind of benefit is that, like, there's ways to play Xbox without owning an Xbox.
Yeah.
Like...
everything's... Just play on PlayStation.
Yeah.
Forza. Or play on Switch, or play on PC. But it does impact... It impacts accessories and I think maybe some games as well. I was just focusing on the console prices. Because that's where I thought the most interesting thing is. But let's keep moving on now to the Nintendo section of the show. So the Switch 1 has just had a patch to get it prepared for... What? The cat's attacking my monitor. Sorry. The Switch 1 has had a pricing... Switch 1 is being prepped with a new system update to get it ready for Switch 2. So basically the patch notes are adding in some of the new Switch 2 features like the virtual game cards, game share, some user settings. I'm not going to go into every single thing, but basically a lot of the stuff that Nintendo have said for the compatibility between the Switches is already now there on the Switch 1. Apparently there's been there was a few error codes and stuff, but apparently a fix has already been deployed very swiftly. So, yeah, good news. Nintendo are actually very proactive in getting this sorted.
As someone who's not involved in the Nintendo ecosystem, I could appreciate this, but I'm also jealous.
Yeah, jealous. What?
Well, I just... You don't get this type of... proactivity in the PC system, like ecosystem, most of the time.
Yeah, but you don't also have discrete generations.
Yeah, fair.
You could argue graphics cards are discrete generations, but it's more continuous. But moving on, Elden Ring. Just want to touch on it briefly because it is announced to come out for Switch 2, and Night Reigns DLC is due soon. It's past 30 million sales. How far do you think this will go? Because I feel like Switch 2 could be a lot of people playing. I can see a lot of people playing Elden Ring on Switch 2.
Yeah, I mean, I think the franchise still has legs. It still has like a good player base, and the fact it's opening up to like a new kind of pool of gamers who, probably aren't like the ideal target market for like this, like the kind of like the play style of Elden Ring. Just by the sheer scale of it, you'll get a lot of people being introduced to it.
I feel like the two games that jumped out at me are from the third party for people to like put the Switch 2 through the paces are Elden Ring and Cyberpunk, because they are very much not your traditional Nintendo affair. They are designed probably more PC focused in terms of the design, with console sensibilities put in there, and then to come over to Switch 2, I think these are the games that are going to push it.
Yeah, and it's the
at least
first
early
time.
game.
Yeah, and it's the first time like they've had the hardware to be able to kind of give that a go, right?
Just insane how well that's doing. Sticking with Nintendo very, very briefly, and another bugbear of mine, the dock. Nintendo, with the Switch, had this cool idea where you have this portable console, you could dock it to put on your TV. Fantastic. Every single fucking Nintendo Switch that's come out has a different dock. It's stupid. The dock is passive. There's no processing on board. It's a USB hub, but they make them different shapes and sizes, so you can't intermatch. And I always thought when the Switch Lite came out, it was the most stupid thing ever. I would want, if I was the head of Nintendo, I am making these Switch docks compatible across the entire ecosystem.
Yeah.
Now, I understand the Switch 2 not being compatible with the Switch 1 dock, but it should work the other way. Because the Switch 2 dock does have fans built into it for cooling.
Got you, okay. So, bit of contention from your perspective there.
Yeah, I just feel like it's a marketing failure, to be honest. At least for the Switch 1 ecosystem. But I just saw it like, alright, here we go again. And to finish, Cyberpunk, I've already mentioned. CG Projekt Red thinks Switch 2 might be the best place to play Cyberpunk handheld. That's a big statement.
They've had time to get Cyberpunk right, so I guess.
But we don't know the full specs of the Switch 2 yet. But that's a big statement, because considering Cyberpunk is on things like the Steam Deck and other like things like that, INEO and stuff, there's quite a lot of handheld PC consoles out there. Mm-hmm. So for CG Projekt Red to come out and say Switch 2 is the best way to do it, is that a comment on the port or a comment on the hardware?
I mean, they've made big claims in the past, right?
Yes, around Cyberpunk specifically.
So I'm holding my breath on this one.
Me too, but they also got banned with the big claims they made with Cyberpunk.
Yeah, so it depends if they've learned a lesson or not.
I feel this might be a combination of the hardware probably being maybe comparable with, say, the Steam Deck, but with it being a dedicated port, they've been able to optimise better than the Steam Deck.
Yeah,
because any PC gamer knows the first thing when you boot a game up is try to optimise the game to your hardware by messing with every single bloody slider in there. So
we'll have to see.
With a console, this is the advantage of console. The developers do that for you. But that is all we have time for you this week. And we like to end the show with This Week in Video Game History. Starting on May the 3rd, Rob, is anything jumping out to you?
May the 3rd, actually, no. I had to look over this list earlier.
Yes, that was my kind of...
It's like, it looks like... I saw Red Dead Revolver and I was like, oh no, that's like the worst version of the Red Dead games. And like... No, like on today, like literally, there's a couple of Marvel like releases which are kind of like movie tie-ins.
You know what? I think me and Chris didn't have time to cover this last week, and I think last week was an absolute banger as well. So
this week sucks.
I've skipped ahead to May the 5th before I've found anything I thought noteworthy. So 33 years ago, Wolfenstein 3D came out on PC on May the 5th. We had Plants vs. Zombies 16 years ago on PC. Patapon 2 on PSP. The Sims 3 on Windows Mobile. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
That one's not worth mentioning. Wolfenstein The Old Blood 10 years ago. Good game. Really good game.
Yeah, but no, it seems like a pretty flat week for me. Yeah. Nothing much.
You get weeks like that.
Yeah, never mind.
That is the end of the show. Thank you very much for watching. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get in the loop of all fantastic content. We hope to return this Wednesday live with the Clicker Cast at 8 8 p.m. or British Summer Time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's been Richie.
And I've been Rob.
GG everyone. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Thank you.